They said the stool was older than the village itself, carved from a single block of ebony wood, its legs twisted like the claws of a beast. No one touched it. No one even breathed near it. For every person who dared sit upon it was never seen alive again. Some claimed it belonged to a witch who cursed it with her dying breath. Others swore they heard whispers rising from its surface at night. But one evening, a young man ignored the warnings. He placed his hand on the stool, and the village never slept peacefully again. In the heart of Umuagu, a village cradled by dense forests and wide rivers, stories breathed louder than the wind. Children grew up with whispers of spirits, and the elders carried warnings like weapons. Among all the tales passed down from one generation to another, none was feared more than that of the stool. It sat in the center of an abandoned hut on the edge of the village, untouched by rain, sun, or termites. While roofs caved in and walls rotted, the stool remained perfect, its surface dark, polished, and gleaming as though it drank the light of the moon. The elders said it once belonged to a woman named Nena, a healer who had turned to witchcraft when grief broke her heart. They said she had lost her child in childbirth, and from that day on, her remedies soured into poisons, her blessings into curses. One night, when the people grew too afraid to let her live, they dragged her out and set fire to her hut. But as the flames consumed her body, Nena laughed. She promised that anyone who dared to sit upon her stool would carry her pain and pay her price. From that night, no villager dared cross the path to the hut. Hunters avoided it. Children were beaten if they wandered near it. And yet, every few years, someone curious or bold enough would step inside. A traveler seeking shelter from rain. A drunkard daring his friends. A widow desperate for answers. Every time, the story ended the same. The next morning, the stool remained in the hut. But the one who touched it was gone. No blood, no body, no sound. Just gone, as if swallowed by the earth itself. Still, the stool waited. Some nights, villagers swore they saw a dim glow inside the ruined hut, or heard faint whispers drifting through the trees. And though the warnings grew louder, the legend only sharpened curiosity. In every generation, there was always one person who asked the forbidden question, what really happens if you sit on the witch's stool? And in this generation, that person was a young man named Obinna. Obinna was unlike the other boys of Umuagu, where they were content to herd goats, fish by the river, or gather palm fruit. His heart burned for answers. He had always been the one to ask questions too bold, too dangerous. Why do spirits speak in the night? Why do some offerings vanish before dawn? Why must one stool terrify an entire village? His mother often scolded him. Curiosity, she warned, is a path that leads only to the grave. But Obinna could not silence the hunger in his mind. It began with dreams. For 3 nights, he saw the stool in his sleep, lit by a pale light that flickered as though the moon itself crouched in the hut. Each time, he heard a voice, low, drawn out, and heavy. It called his name slowly. Oh, Binna. The first night he woke in sweat. The second, his bed shook as though something tugged at its legs. The third, he awoke outside, standing near the forbidden hut, barefoot, with no memory of how he had left his house. The elders noticed his restlessness. At the market, one old man muttered, "The stool has chosen him." The word spread quickly, crawling through the village like smoke. Children whispered and avoided his shadow. Mothers pulled their little ones close when he walked past. Obinna tried to resist. He told himself they were only dreams, tricks of the night. Yet the pull grew stronger. When he passed by the old hut on his way to the river, the air thickened around him. The wind fell silent. Even birds refused to sing near that place. And each time, he felt a pressure on his chest, like unseen eyes pushing him forward. One evening his closest friend, Chica, grabbed his arm. "Don't go near it, Obinna. Please. My grandfather says the stool doesn't just take people. It feeds on them. Their souls become fuel for the witch's laughter." Obinna forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow. They are only stories, chica. Old tales to keep children in line. Then why, Chica pressed, do the bodies never return? That question followed Obinna all through the night. He tossed, he turned, but the whisper came again, curling through the dark. By dawn, his mind was made. He would end the silence. He would uncover the truth. So, when the village prepared for the New Yam Festival, a time of feasting, drumming, and dancing, Obinna made his own plans. While others gathered in the square, he slipped away. With only the sound of his heartbeat in his ears, he walked the narrow path toward the hut. The sun dipped low, bleeding gold across the forest, and the shadows stretched like fingers. The abandoned hut came into view. Its walls leaned but refused to fall, its roof sagged but never broke. And there, in the center, through the doorway that seemed wider than it was, he saw it. The stool. Waiting. Silent. Shining faintly, as though it had been expecting him all along. Obinna's breath caught. Every instinct screamed to turn back. His feet trembled, yet he stepped forward. The forest held its breath. The whispers began. Obinna stepped inside the hut. The air was heavy, thicker than any he had ever breathed. The shadows along the mud walls seemed alive, twitching and bending like smoke caught in a jar. The stool stood in the center, polished and gleaming, its dark surface drinking in what little light the evening offered. As he drew closer, the whispers sharpened. What had been a single voice became many, weaving together like a swarm of insects. Some laughed, others wept, but all called his name. Obinna, sit and see. His knees trembled. His palms glistened with sweat. Still, he moved forward, as though an unseen rope pulled him. Then he saw it, the carvings on the stool. Not random patterns as he once thought, but faces. Tiny screaming faces twisted into the wood, mouths open in eternal agony. Their hollow eyes seemed to follow him. Obinna staggered back, his heart pounding. But the whispers rose into a roar. His body no longer felt his own. His legs bent. His arms reached. And before he could resist, he lowered himself onto the stool. The world exploded. The ground shook violently. The roof of the hut disappeared, swallowed by a whirl of black smoke that spiraled into the sky. The faces carved into the stool writhed, their screams bursting free, echoing through the forest. A chilling laughter erupted, high, shrill, endless. The laughter of Nena, the witch.
Obinna's eyes rolled back. He felt his soul being pulled, stretched, torn apart. Visions flashed before him, endless darkness, a river of fire, children crying out as they were dragged into unseen depths. He saw the witch, her face pale, her eyes glowing like embers, her arms reaching for him. "You have given me life again," she hissed, her voice splitting the air. "Through you I walk once more." The villagers heard the sound. Even from the square, the drumming ceased as a wave of screams pierced the night. The ground beneath Umuagu trembled, pots shattered, torches went out. People fell to their knees, praying, crying. Inside the hut, Obinna's body stiffened. His mouth opened in a silent scream. The stool burned hot beneath him, but he could not move. His flesh felt as if it were melting, his spirit sucked into the cursed wood. Then, with a deafening crack, the stool glowed red, brighter, brighter, until the whole hut was drenched in firelight. And just as suddenly, silence. The hut was empty. The stool stood alone. Obinna was gone. But the stool had changed. Its carvings had deepened, and now, among the screaming faces, was a new one, his. The villagers gathered at dawn, their faces pale and swollen from sleepless fear. The hut where the stool rested was now nothing but ash and splinters. Yet, in the very center of the ruin, untouched by flame, sat the stool, gleaming darker than ever. And on it, etched deep into the cursed wood, was Obinna's face. His eyes wide, his mouth open in eternal terror, just like the others. No one dared approach. Mothers clutched their children. Elders whispered prayers. The priest spat on the ground and turned away. From that day, the stool was never spoken of openly again, but every child in Umuagu grew up knowing the story. If you mock what is sacred, you will sit where no man returns. For years after, the villagers passed the clearing without looking at it. Farmers avoided the soil, hunters walked wider circles, children crossed themselves when they heard the wind whistle through the trees. The stool remained, black and waiting, patient as time itself. And every now and then, when the night was quiet enough, those who lived nearest swore they heard it, the faint echo of a young man's voice, crying, begging, then fading into laughter that did not belong to the living. The moral spread like fire through the region. Pride blinds, and arrogance feeds the dark. Respect the warnings of the old, for every story carries truth, and every curse waits for a fool. And so, no one sat on the witch's stool again. But the stool remained, watching, waiting for the next Obinna. And that is the tale of the witch's stool. A curse that swallowed the prideful, a shadow that waits in silence. Tell me, would you dare sit, just once, to prove your courage? Or would you walk away like the villagers, never daring to look back? If this story sent chills down your spine, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Tales by Sanaa, and share it with your friends so they, too, will never forget the danger of mocking the unseen. And remember, every legend begins with a warning. The question is, will you listen?